On today's episode of The Practical Pro Musician, do you dream of having more time to kill on Instagram? Do you dream of having more time in the future of your music career to binge watch shows on Netflix? Me neither. Let's talk about it. Stay tuned. We love playing music, but it seems like the odds of making a living as a professional musician are about as high as winning the lottery. So the big question is this: how do musicians like us, with jobs, families, and responsibilities, get from where we are today to making a practical living playing music we love? Well, my name is Daniel Hadaway, and this show will give you the answers. This is The Practical Pro Musician. Well, hey there, my friend. Welcome into The Practical Pro Musician. My name is Daniel. I am your host, and I'm happy to be here with you. I guess I'm your host, and hopefully I'm also kind of your coach, your music career coach. That's what I call myself, and I think that's pretty accurate. I'm not a music instructor. I don't teach you how to play your instrument, and I'm probably not as good at your instrument as you are. Much like a coach in a sporting in a sporting event, in a sport. I'm not. A lot of times the coaches are good at coaching, and they're great at coaching, and they're good at what they're doing. They're teaching other people, and so for me, definitely, I'm a drummer. And I understand that. I mean, I was good enough of a drummer to have a career in music, so that's great. But I've discovered that I think I'm pretty good at coaching other people in their music careers, and so that's what I do. I don't know how I got sidetracked by that. That's not what today is about. How are you? I'm good. I've got a cup of coffee in front of me. So I am always much better when I've got a cup of coffee with me. So today, I wanted to kind of talk about something that I have to remind myself of all the time. And this episode might be a little shorter. I say that a lot, and then 90% of the time when I say an episode is going to be short, it ends up being just as long or longer than most of the episodes of this podcast. So we'll see, but I think it's going to be shorter. So I had this, I've mentioned this before. I listen to and I read a lot of, non-music related podcasts, business things that I have to stay up on for my day job. And then also things that help me running the business side of what I do here with the podcast and with coaching musicians, all that stuff. So, but I find a lot of inspiration in those areas for what I share here on the podcast and all the things that I teach. And then also just for my own music career that I am still involved with. And one thing that was really interesting was I actually listened to this podcast today. I was listening to a podcast, and it was all about how to hire team members the right way. So if you're a manager or you're a business owner and you're looking to bring people into your team, how to go about doing that the right way so that everyone enjoys the process, whatever. So one thing that I thought was really interesting that hit hard for me, and kind of goes alongside something that I teach as much as I can to other aspiring musicians, is the guest that was on this show. She was saying, look, like what you need to do if you're like, let's say you own your own business, and in the case of you as a musician, you own your own business. It's you incorporated. It's you. Your job is finding and keeping gigs now. If you decided you want to be a professional musician. So you are the CEO of your own business, and it's you, and it's your music. So if you own your own business, and you do, and you're looking to, and you think maybe having another team member or something like that would be helpful to you. No, this episode is not about you hiring someone to help you with your music career. I honestly don't know anyone who's a musician who has an agent or anything like that. So side note, people ask me sometimes, do I need to get an agent to help me find gigs? Not the way it really works. So don't do that. Don't waste your time going down that road. But the concept here is, if you're looking to hire someone and you don't actually know exactly what you would hire someone to do, you just know that you're really busy and you know, this is not what all the stuff you're doing is not stuff you want to do. What she suggested and what I'm suggesting you do is kind of think ahead, look down the road to what you would like to be doing. What would you like in the case of what she was talking about, what would you like to be doing in the day-to-day life of your business? So what would your days look like? And then think about how that compares to what you're doing now, and then reverse engineer, saying, well, look, if I'm doing, if in the future I'd love to be doing these 5 things every day in my life, but right now I'm doing these 25 things. Well, and 5 of those things are those things I'd like to be doing in the future, but the other 20 are things I don't want to be doing in the future. Well, there's the easy path of saying, all right, well, those 20 things are the things you probably should hire someone else to do. And so it got me thinking about us as musicians and pursuing a music career and thinking down the road the same way. Now, you might have heard me in another podcast episode a long time ago talk about like reverse engineering your path to becoming a professional musician. And that's not what we're talking about today. It also works in that case where you say, look, where do I want to be, 10 years from now? Let me step back and say what probably would have happened right before that. What would have happened before that? What would have happened before that? And you kind of walk yourself back until you get back to where you are now. And then you kind of have a plan laid out. That's one thing. But the other thing is this, and this is something that I think a lot of us get caught up in. Right now we say, man, I don't have enough time to really pursue this music career thing. And so if that's you, say, man, my day's filled with other things. I just can't free up the time to really dedicate any time to doing the music thing. That could be true. It probably is true. Your day probably is full. But I started thinking, man, if you were to ask me, what do I want my career to look like 10 years from now? And I have a list of things that I'd love to be doing every day as part of that career. And that could be music career, it could be business, it could be anything. When I think about those things, and I'm guessing this is true for you, when I think about what I'd like to be doing in the future, it doesn't include how much time I'd like to have to spend watching shows on Netflix, or how much time I get to spend infinitely scrolling through Instagram. I don't think about those things as priorities or things that I'd love to be doing and having more time to do. I never think, man, geez, I really wish I had just 10 more minutes of Instagram scrolling time through my day. But right now, I probably spend a lot of time doing it. And maybe you do too, or Netflix or Amazon or whatever it is you're spending time on. And what I realize is that there's a lot of things that we all are probably doing right now that if we look down the road to where we'd like to be in the future with our music careers, it doesn't involve those things. And so my question to you today is this: why don't you just stop doing those things now? Because that's an easy place to free up some time to pursue your music career and actually do some of the things that you might actually like to be doing. To get really straightforward on it, like, I don't have a dream of scrolling through Instagram. I don't think, man, someday when I have 10 million listeners in my podcast and, I've got a bunch of people that I'm coaching or whatever in their music careers, I don't also say, and also I really get a chance to binge on TV shows for an hour and a half every day on Netflix. I just don't. And so if I don't dream about doing that in the future, I probably shouldn't be doing it now. I have a choice to, if my future is out of alignment with where I'm at right now, and there's a discrepancy there, and this goes for music or anything like that. If there's a discrepancy between where I'm at right now and where I'd like to be, I understand that a lot of things in our music careers are going to take time. We're going to have to just keep working at them. But there are a lot of things that are as simple as just stopping doing something that we do a lot right now. And it could be time wasters, could be things that we use just to fill up the gaps in our day. And one little strategy that I'd like, you can do this, I know that iPhones, like iOS devices, have this, and then I'm sure Android devices do too. But you can look and see like a report in the settings of like how much time you've spent today in a certain app. And the thing about it is this: a lot of this stuff that we use to fill up our days that we may not realize how much time we spend on them is most of us are not necessarily like, for example, Instagram. I'm not pulling up Instagram and scrolling for an hour straight, like an hour solid at one time. It might be 5 minutes there, 10 minutes there, here and there, kind of all the time, or occasionally throughout the day. But it all adds up to a lot of time. And the reason why I do that kind of thing is because I'm kind of like waiting for the next thing to start, or I'm waiting to start the next thing myself. And I just kind of kill a few minutes here or there. For example, like this podcast, like I'm like, getting my thoughts together, but I'm like, I need to, while I click the button to open Logic, I decide to open up Instagram. I don't need to do that. Cut that out and go ahead and jump in and do the next thing that I'm actually needing to do. And at the end of the day, if I just go ahead and move on to the next thing that I actually need to do, at the end of the day, I'll have that hour back because I wouldn't have spent 5 minutes, 10 minutes here and there along the way. I haven't spent all that time nickel and diming myself of my time and at the end wondering where it all went. So I want to encourage you to do the same thing. Just look at what you're doing. Look at where your time is going. And if you say, man, there's some things I'd love in my music career to be dedicating time to, start with what can you just cut out right now to get there quicker. It could be a shortcut almost. If you just spend a little more time, on your time. Maybe that'll be the title of this podcast. Spend a little more time thinking about your time. And then make a plan, stick to it. Calendar out your day if you have to. I've done this sometimes where I say, I'm actually going to schedule out everything I'm going to do today. I'm not a very organized person, like overall, but it does help me some days, especially when I know I have to get a lot done, to schedule out how much time I'm going to spend on every single thing. And I do schedule my days down to the minute so that I can get it all done. And a lot of times what I find is that when I do that, I end up getting things done more quickly than I expected, and I have more free time than I thought I did. And then also, I know like as musicians, there's a lot of time we could spend being creative. We can spend playing our instrument, spend practicing, just being inspired on our instrument. And that's an important piece of what we do as musicians. But it can be really hard, at least for me, it can be really hard to take time out of my day to do those things because there's no like direct benefit from it. Like if I just go, play around on my instrument for a while, and even if it's practice time, like I can't necessarily measure how much better I'm getting, and maybe I'm not getting any better at all. I'm just kind of staying inspired, staying kind of in the musical zone. It can be hard to take time out to do those things because there is no like immediate value that you can take out of it. And so a lot of times we can fall into the trap of feeling guilty for doing those things. But if you were to schedule that part of your day out ahead of time and make the decision ahead of time that I'm going to spend this time doing this because I know that I've got all these other things that I've scheduled out, I'm going to get those done too. But then I've got time scheduled out for music. It can free you up from the guilt of where all the time is going and how much time you're spending doing things that don't quote unquote have direct value. We all know they do have value in the future, but just not right now. Maybe it's hard to see. All right. So that's what I've got for you today. Spend time thinking about your time and cut out a few things that you don't need to be doing and see if at the end of the day you end up having more time to dedicate towards things that you know or you hope or you feel like maybe will give you that progress in your music career. Hey, real quick before I let you go, if you are interested at all in getting ongoing real support, training, teaching, getting access to interviews of professional musicians, all kinds of things like that, I'd love to invite you to join the Pro Musician Alliance. Doors are not open as I'm recording this, but they will be soon. So if you go over to promusician.org, and in the top right corner, there will either be an enroll button or a join waitlist button. Click on either of those buttons and you will be directed to a page where you can sign up and say, I want to be the first to know when the doors do open to the Pro Musician Alliance. It is a great community of professional musicians who are helping each other out in their careers, and also there's ongoing teaching from me. I'm interviewing a lot of other working professionals, giving you real world practical advice for becoming a professional musician. So if that interests you at all, I'd encourage you to jump over there, promusician.org, top right corner, click on enroll or join waitlist, and you can be plugged into that. All right. Thanks for joining me. We'll talk again soon. Bye for now.